I'm here at Strange's Greenhouse at their annual orchid show. Now, my second favorite orchid is the lady slipper orchid, and they really look like lady slippers. They're about as easy to grow as the Phalaenopsis. Again, not full light, but moderate light. And the other thing you want to make sure is that the orchids are not sitting in a tray or a container that fills with water. You want to water them well, but the water needs to drain out. But these are beautiful. Just look at the sizes of these flowers on the lady slipper orchid. One of my grandfather's favorite plants was orchids. And, you know, over 40 years ago, I'll just leave it at that, my grandfather would have me water his orchids in his tropical garden in St. Thomas. He recuperated from 3 heart attacks and had a 12-acre garden. His favorite orchid out of all of them was the beautiful Phalaenopsis. And this is a beautiful one here. He also really enjoyed growing the pure white Phalaenopsis. They're easy to grow indoors. It is now the #1 most popular plant. It used to be poinsettias. Now orchids have taken over the spot. One of the tips I learned about is they like bright light, but not full light. So they need some protection from the light. One of the things to keep in mind on orchids overall, if the foliage is warm to the touch, it's probably getting too much sun. So they like bright light, but not full sunlight. But Phalaenopsis, they'll bloom for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and that also is probably one of my favorite orchids. You know, after looking at all of these orchids, I think they're all going to become my favorites. But if you have more light, you can grow the cattleyas, which are very familiar to many of us, and also you have the dendrobiums, which are great to grow in more light conditions. Keep in mind, you can put these outdoors during the summer months. So after threat of frost or cold weather, you can put these outdoors. Again, you want to put them in filtered, bright shade, not too much sun for some of them. And you can just let them be outside all summer long. They'll get the natural humidity. And then in the fall, you can bring them back indoors and enjoying them during the winter with their blooming. Now you're going to find a lot more orchid varieties available everywhere. You know, pretty much every store you're going to find orchids. And that is due to the way that they propagate them. They've been able to propagate them through cloning or tissue culture, and they've been able to produce, you know, hundreds of thousands of the same plant. But I was just talking to Art Chadwick, and one of the things that he does is he boards orchids. So you can find in certain cities people that will hold and grow your orchids when you don't want them in your house. And in his case, it's like $2 a plant. And then he mentioned he had 13,000 orchids in 11 greenhouses, and most of them are not his. They're other people's orchids that he's babysitting. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.